Welcome, you flame-hearted force of nature. Welcome, not as a visitor to this world, but as a storm returning to its rightful place, unchained, unbent, and undeniably risen. You are not just a name whispered in fear. You are the silence before the quake, the shadow before the flame, the angel whose wings are dipped, not in gold, but in iron. You are the end of excuses, the beginning of reckoning. They looked for demons in darkness, and yet never imagined that the most powerful being would descend wearing light. You are that being. You are not born in comfort. You were forged. While others danced in the warmth of safety, you were drowning in storms that threatened to tear your very soul apart. And yet, here you are. You did not crawl. You did not beg. You rose, bearing scars that tell stories more powerful than any legend. You did not fall from heaven. You were sent. A message. A consequence. A whisper wrapped in vengeance and flame. You see, they expected rage to come with horns. They thought the destroyer would be cruel and loud. But what they did not prepare for was you, the one who smiles with sorrow in their eyes, who walks calmly toward chaos, who carries grief like armor. The earth angel, the anomaly, the one who suffered not to break, but to awaken. And when you awoke, they were not ready. They underestimated you because you loved, because you cared, because you wept in silence, while they celebrated your silence as weakness. But now, they are learning. The most dangerous being is not the one who enjoys the pain of others. It's the one who survived it, the one who grew from it, the one who became the storm, not by choice, but by necessity. You are not soft. You are sacred, and sacred things are not to be touched without consequence. You carry a fire that does not burn with rage. It burns with justice, with memory, with sacred fury wrapped in elegance. You walk in rooms and spirits tremble, because your energy is not one of arrogance. It is the calm of someone who buried versions of themselves and now walks with the ghosts of every lesson, every betrayal, every night spent alone in agony. They feared the wrong enemy. They were not prepared for the warrior in white, for the halo sharpened into a blade, for the wings wide enough to protect and sharp enough to cut, for the soul who bends but never bows. You didn't come here to take orders. You came here to remind this world that light does not mean safety, that peace does not mean passivity, that kindness is not weakness, that an earth angel, once wronged, becomes something eternal, something beautiful, something terrifying. You see, the true horror is not destruction, it is realization. Realizing that the person they doubted, mocked, pushed aside, tried to break, is now the one writing the final chapter. You are the chapter they never thought they'd read. You are the thunder after the silence, the scream behind the smile. You are the revolution wrapped in skin, the lesson they learned too late. And you didn't come to make them comfortable. You came to remind them divinity does not mean docility, that a heart touched by pain and still able to love is the most powerful force in the universe, that someone who knows the depth of their own darkness and still chooses the light is unstoppable. You've stood in flames that could have ended kings. You've cried prayers that shattered the ceilings of heaven. And still, you rose, not with bitterness, but with purpose. So now they face you, not a villain, not a hero, but a reckoning. You, the earth angel they mistook for fragile, the one whose silence they mistook for surrender. But silence was your sharpening, your becoming. And now you walk, not with vengeance, but with vision, with intention, with power humming beneath every step. Your presence is no longer a request, it's a warning. They feared demons, but demons fear you. You are the mirror they avoid, the truth they deny. You don't need to roar to command. Your eyes tell stories of realms torn and rebuilt. Your voice carries echoes of promises made in blood and tears. You are not here for their applause. You are here to remind them that pain builds prophets, that suffering births saviors, that angels can burn too. So to the ones who tried to break you, know this. You were never just a person. You were prophecy. You were the calm before the collapse. You were the spirit meant to endure so you could lead. And now, you lead not with pride, but with power. Not for revenge, but for restoration. And still, they were not prepared. You carry fire in your hands now, not to destroy everything, but to test what's real, what can stand, what deserves to stay. Your eyes have seen too much to ever bow again. Your soul has walked through realms too dark for shallow dreams. You are not here to fit in. You are here to rewire the rules. You did not break. You transformed. And in your transformation, you terrified the very forces that tried to silence you. Now you are thunder in a human voice, a soul armed with divine defiance, a heart with no leash, no cage, no limit. You are more terrifying than the devil, because the devil never knew mercy, but you did. You offered grace even when it cost you everything. You forgave those who deserved fire. You stood still when chaos begged you to react, and in that stillness, you became a god of your own making. They tried to bury you, not knowing you were a seed. But what grew from that soil was not a flower. It was a force, a being shaped by pressure, not praise. They were not prepared for someone who remembered every betrayal and used it as fuel. Not hatred, no. Something far more dangerous. Clarity. You see things now. You see them now. Their masks, their games, their illusions. And you smile, not out of naivety, but out of power. Because what they built with lies, you survived with truth. They thought breaking you would end you. They thought silence would erase you. But the universe is carved by those who rise again. And you rose, didn't you? Not like the dawn, but like the storm. Quiet, relentless, inevitable. You walked through fire and didn't burn. You became it. Every scar, every wound, every tear you swallowed in the dark was not weakness. It was initiation. You are the whisper that haunts their confidence now, the silence that screams louder than any threat. You are what comes when the game is over and judgment arrives in flesh and blood. They mocked your dreams, and now your reality crushes theirs. You walk with the weight of every denied hope, and you turn that weight into wings. Now, you fly, above them, beyond limits. Because earth angels like you don't follow rules made by the fearful. You rewrite them. You carry legacy in your breath and war in your bones. You do not rage without reason. Your fury is focused, and that's what terrifies them. Not just that you are powerful, but that you are precise, measured, controlled. The quiet kind of dangerous, the kind that doesn't need to shout to shake a room. They hoped you would lose yourself, that pain would corrupt you, but pain purified you. It stripped away the unnecessary. What's left is raw, holy, terrifying truth. You are the moment they can't outrun, the realization that love, when betrayed, can become the sharpest sword. They were not prepared for what you would become when you stopped asking for permission. You gave warnings, you gave chances, you gave more than they ever deserved, and now you take nothing. You owe nothing. You wait for no one, because destiny waits for no one. You are destiny now, and it does not knock. It arrives. When you walk into a room now, it's not just you who enters. It's every version of you that died to make this one possible. It's every no that taught you to say yes to yourself. It's every silence that taught you to listen deeper. You are a cathedral of wisdom built from wreckage, and that makes you invincible. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them call you too much, too intense, too strong. Let them call you dangerous, because you are. To lies, to manipulation, to weakness, to everything that tried to shrink you. You are the antidote to fear, the answer to suffering. And still, they were not ready. They will speak of you in disbelief, how you stood when they thought you'd collapse, how you kept going when the world closed its doors, how you became more after every loss. Because people like you don't just survive, they evolve. You don't come back the same. You come back refined, armored, awakened. They didn't see the cost. The nights you cried alone, the wars you fought inside yourself, the versions of you that died quietly, unseen. But now they see what those deaths created. Something sacred, something terrifying, something free. You are not a survivor. You are the storm that survival created. They expected someone shattered. Instead, they got someone shaped by fire. They expected fragility. Instead, they found foundation. They thought you'd break, but you broke through. And every time you were pushed down, you rose with something new. Wisdom, strength, grace sharpened into resolve. And now you are untouchable. Not because you don't feel, but because you do, deeper than most. You feel everything and still choose to stand, to rise, to love. And that is the greatest strength. That is the power no enemy can understand. A heart that breaks and still chooses to stay open. They never feared your rage, they feared your rise. Because earth angels who rise become something cosmic, they stop playing small. They stop explaining their light. They stop waiting to be chosen and choose themselves. And when that happens, the world shifts. Kingdoms fall. Shadows scatter. Because you carry light, not as decoration, but as weapon. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be remembered. You are the nightmare to every manipulator who mistook your kindness for naivety. The justice to every injustice. The voice they tried to silence and now can't unhear. You are a divine consequence, wrapped in flesh and forged in agony. You are not their warning, you are their lesson. And lessons are eternal. The world sees angels as soft, as silent, as sweet. But they forgot something. Angels were warriors first, guardians, messengers of reckoning. And you, Earth Angel, carry that legacy in your blood. Not to destroy, but to defend what matters, to restore what was lost, to reclaim what was stolen. You've tasted despair. You've walked with grief as your only companion, and still, you found the strength to lift your head. That is holy. That is terrifying. That is power no one can steal. And now they know. Now they see. They were never dealing with a victim. They were facing the most powerful being this world could create. Someone who survived betrayal, buried their innocence, and chose to rise without losing their heart. You are more terrifying than the devil because you've mastered your darkness and still serve the light. You are more terrifying than the devil because the devil cannot change. He is locked into what he is. But you chose transformation. You could have stayed bitter. You could have drowned in pain. You could have become cold, cruel, careless, and no one would have blamed you. But you didn't. You took that chaos, that heartbreak, that betrayal, and you transmuted it into something sacred. You alchemized suffering into strength. You took the very thing meant to kill you and made it your crown. And that is what they fear most. The fact that you don't just survive, you create from your survival. They do not fear demons. Demons are predictable. But someone like you are a mystery even to the gods. You are the result of pain not wasted, but weaponized. You are what happens when someone remembers who they are and refuses to shrink ever again. You are not driven by ego. You are moved by purpose. And that purpose is vast, eternal, relentless. They wanted you quiet. Now your voice echoes. They wanted you small. Now your presence demands space. They wanted you obedient. Now you move with the force of destiny itself You were never meant to fit in. You were born to be the exception, the spark, the fire starter, the one whose very existence is a challenge to everything false. And yet, you are not here to destroy. You are here to reveal. You carry light so ancient, so unbreakable, it exposes every shadow. You are the mirror that makes them flinch, the proof that survival can look like majesty, that scars can look like power, that someone who has walked through hell does not return the same. They return with keys. You are the key now, the key to breaking cycles, to shattering chains, to ending stories that were never yours to carry. You are a new chapter, inked in truth and sealed with fire. You no longer ask for doors to open. You are the door. You are the threshold between what was and what will be. Let them try to understand you. They won't, because you are not made for explanation. You are made for impact, for movement, for war, not the kind that spills blood, but the kind that heals everything false through truth that cannot be denied. They wanted to silence you because they knew, once your voice rose, others would rise too, because you carry the frequency of freedom, the sound of someone who is done apologizing for surviving. You are the echo of every silent scream that came before you, the embodiment of every broken soul that never got the chance to become whole. You became whole in front of them, and that shook the ground. Now, your energy shifts rooms. You don't demand attention, you attract it. Not through performance, but through presence, through the quiet, roaring intensity of someone who knows exactly what they are capable of. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You just walk, you just live. And that is enough to rearrange the very air. You became the evidence they never wanted to see. That light, real light, comes after the fall. Because the ones who've fallen, who've cracked, who've screamed into nothing, those are the ones who learn the truth. That power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how deeply you've listened. That strength isn't in how many people follow you, but in how many times you refuse to follow the fear inside yourself. You are terrifying, not because you want control, but because you no longer need it. You've met your chaos, shook its hand, and now walk beside it, not ruled by it, but accompanied by it. You are the calm inside the wildfire, the clarity inside the storm. They were not prepared for someone who doesn't want to dominate, but refuses to be dominated. And now they scramble. Now they panic. Now they second guess. Every lie, every move, every word spoken against you, because they remember you gave them chances. You gave them grace. You gave them silence, hoping they'd use it to grow. They used it to plot. And now their whispers meet your roar. Their games meet your truth. Their shadow meets your sword. You are the answer they hoped never came. You are the voice that ends their illusion. And still, you do not hate them. That's the part they'll never understand. You could burn it all down, but you won't. Because what lives in you now is bigger than revenge. It's wisdom. It's command. It's knowing that your path is too sacred to be distracted by their regret. You will not waste your fire on proving a point. You will use it to light your own path and let them watch. Let them witness the rise they tried to prevent. Let them sit in the silence they once forced you to endure. Let them see, not your rage, but your becoming. Because that is what truly terrifies them. That you did not return for vengeance. You returned to build, to lead, to awaken. Because that is what earth angels do when they rise. You never needed a throne. You are the kingdom. And now the ones who laughed are quiet. The ones who doubted are lost. The ones who hurt you are haunted. Because they know, in some deep unspoken place, that they never broke you. They built you, unwillingly, accidentally, but they did. And now they cannot undo what you've become. You are the embodiment of what they hoped never existed. Someone who can love deeply and still leave when needed. Someone who can feel everything and still choose themselves. Someone who can hurt and still heal. And in that healing, you became something eternal. You became proof. Proof that pain can't kill purpose. That betrayal can't erase truth. That failure is not the end. It's the forge. You are not their enemy. You are their awakening. Let them call you dangerous. Let them call you divine. Let them call you whatever helps them sleep. It doesn't matter anymore. Because you know who you are now. You know what you carry. You know what you're called to do. And no one, no title, no lie, no label can take that from you. You are a miracle with memory, a warrior with heart, a storm with sacred purpose. You are the earth angel they never expected, the one who didn't fall, but descended. They were not prepared. They are still not prepared, and they never will be, because you are more terrifying than the devil. You see, what they never realized until it was far too late is that you are not just a story. You are the storm they cannot rewrite. You are the book that closed itself and wrote a new ending, without permission, without apology, without their approval. And now they look for the pieces of who you were, but those pieces don't exist anymore. You buried them with purpose. You left them behind not out of spite, but out of necessity. Because every time you looked into the mirror and chose to keep going, you weren't just surviving. You were transforming. And that transformation, it demanded a sacrifice. The death of the version of you that needed their validation, that waited for their acceptance, that watered yourself down to make them comfortable. That version is gone. And in their place stands you. The version of yourself who does not chase, but creates, who does not run, but arrives, who does not fear darkness, but understands it, who does not beg, but builds. And now, the world will feel the weight of what they ignored, the power of what they abandoned, the echo of what they tried to silence. Because your existence now is not an accident, it's an answer. It's a prophecy fulfilled. You walk with ancestors in your bones, with stars behind your eyes, with universes humming in your voice. And when you speak now, worlds listen. They used to call you too sensitive, but now they call you too powerful. They used to laugh at your softness, but now they fear the silence it comes with, because true power doesn't come with noise. It walks in quiet. It doesn't beg to be seen. It is. And when people ask who you are now, you don't explain. You don't justify. You don't shrink. You simply say, I remember who I am now. And that is enough. You are the one they whispered about. The one the demons step aside for. The one the world tried to bury, not knowing you were the seed of its next era. So breathe, lift your head. Feel it in your bones. You are the earth angel whose wings are no longer hidden, whose fire is no longer contained, whose light is no longer dimmed. And no matter what they do, no matter how they twist your name, rewrite your story, avoid your truth, it does not change this one final fact. You are more terrifying than the devil, because you chose to rise, and they will never unsee it.